Hey guys, welcome back to another Division video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at this build that I made, focusing on this named Sidearm TDI card custom. Now this is a Dark Zone exclusive item. However, I got mine by just opening name caches by farming Countdown. And the unique thing about this Sidearm is that it has +1 skill tier. Let me zoom in. +1 skill tier, which is only activates if you are currently using the Sidearm. Alright, once you swapped into your main weapon or sub weapon, the skill tier goes away. And it comes with talent Future Perfect. I'm gonna keep this. I think it lines up well with the skill build. Now you can change the other pieces of gear here. For example, I have Saint Elmo and Cabaret as my primary and secondary weapon, but you could change it into Scorpio. That also works. We don't really have any specific gear here that have a weapon damage bonus, so feel free to use whatever primary and secondary weapon you want. Now for the armor pieces here, the concept for this build is that we will have our shield out, right? This is the version of the shield that is like, you can only use a handgun with it. And the reason for this is because that has like the highest amount of health, shield health. This is the Bulwark Ballistic Shield. As you can see, the health in skill tier 6 is 13 million. And if we move here and decided to go for the Crusader Ballistic Shield, where we could use our submachine gun and assault rifle, the shield health goes down by a lot. It is only 4 million. Now what we want to do after we have our shield out is we position ourselves in the middle of the fight, where if we use our Jammer Pulse, which emits a shockwave around us, we will hit a lot of enemies. Alright, and right now it is skill tier 6 and the radius is pretty big. Right, let me see here. In skill tier 6, the radius is 60% and the effect duration is 60% as well. And if we happen to overcharge it, the radius increases to 150% and the duration is doubled, and charge speed is also increased. Now after we do our Jammer Pulse and affect or disrupt enemies around us in a large radius, probably the whole screen, we have here Vile, and that will inflict the debuff, will make enemies take damage over time, or about 10 seconds, right? So let me show you what the idea is. We're going to take out the shield, we're going to be shooting enemies, right? And we're going to be using our Jammer Pulse, like so. And pretty much everyone in the map or the area will get disoriented, and also will get like the effect from Vile. So yeah, that is the concept for the build. We are using our Sidearm for the most part, and we're gonna be using Jammer Pulse to crowd control enemies over and over again. And for us to do that, we have to have a lot of skill haste, and we have a lot of skill haste in our gear. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's go to the individual pieces of the build. Starting off with the weapons, I have here the Saint Elmo as the main weapon for the build, or primary weapon. And this has like core attribute of assault rifle damage, health damage, or critical hit chance. And it has the talent Actum Est. Shooting an enemy will give you 1 stack, and out of 100 stacks, once you reload, every bullet is gonna be shock ammo. So that's it. Every time you shoot, enemies get shocked. And yes, it is affected by status effects, so this is really nice. Also, if you don't mind, you could use Scorpio as well. This is an option too. However, the status effects for this gun isn't really affected by status effect stats. It's more affected by like the amount of pellet. Now for our secondary weapon, I'm using the Cabaret just to complement the primary weapon that we are using, which is Saint Elmo. It does shock damage, and this one has talent Perfect Thunderstrike. Deals 40% extra damage to shock targets. But again, this is not a weapon build, so don't expect a lot of damage out of this. And the stats that you have here is 15% SMG damage, 20% critical hit chance, and 10% damage out of cover. Now the mods that I put here is pretty much all critical hit chance. We have 5% here, 20 plus rounds, 5% critical hit chance, and another 5% critical hit chance. Now for the Sidearm, which is our main weapon for this build, that is so weird to say, the TDI card custom. Alright, this is a named item. Like I said earlier, you get this from Dark Zone, also by opening name caches. and it has the stats pistol damage and +1 skill tier. And the talent that I have here is Future Perfect. Weapon kills grant +1 skill tier for 15 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. Weapon kills at skill tier 6, however, grant overcharge for 15 seconds, and the overcharge cooldown is 90 seconds. Keep in mind that it is weapon kills, not skill kills. Now that we are done with the weapons, let's go ahead and take a look at the armor pieces, starting off with the mask. We have here Vial, which is an exotic item. Just farm this on Countdown and set the target loot into mask, and hopefully you'll get it. The stats that we have here for the core attribute is +1 skill tier. The attributes are status effects, hazard protection, and I put a skill haste mod. And then the talent is Toxic Delivery. Status effects also apply a damage over time debuff for 10 seconds. The total damage dealt is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade damage. It is increased by your status effect attributes. And for the chest piece, I'm using the Electric brand. This gives us 10% status effects as the first brand set bonus. The core attribute for this piece of armor is skill tier, so no need to reroll that. The attributes that I have here is not perfect, alright? So ideally you want skill haste instead of skill damage, and then the secondary attribute would be status effects, and then put a skill haste mod, right? Let me repeat that. You want skill haste instead of skill damage. And then the talent for this one, I put Trauma. Applies a blind to an enemy hit in the head, cooldown is 30 seconds. Applies bleed to an enemy and hit in the chest, and the cooldown is 30 seconds. For the holster, I am using the named version of the Brazos de Arcabas. This is the Picaros holster. This has the brand set bonus of 10% skill haste, and since we're wearing 2 pieces, we get +1 skill tier. 2 very important stats for this build. Like I said earlier, skill haste, we want that for this build. Now, it comes with the default core attribute of armor, which is nice for more survivability. We're gonna be going inside in the middle of the fight, so having that extra armor is really useful. And the attributes that I have here is status effects, and it's really nice to have that weapon damage. Why? Because we have to have weapon kills for our Future Perfect to work. So having a little bit of weapon damage is nice for this build. For the backpack, we are using the named version of Golan gear. This is the Anarchist Cookbook. Now, the brand set bonus for this item is 10% status effects. The core attribute is armor, and you want to have status effects, skill haste, and add a skill haste mod. Now, the talent that comes with this named item is Perfectly Wicked. Applying a status effect increases total weapon damage by 18% for 27 seconds. Now, if you apply another status effects before the buff is gone, it will refresh, so you can have 100% uptime on this buff. Now, another nice talent for the backpack is Creeping Death, because if you pair this with Trauma, which you blind enemies if you shoot them in the head and make them bleed if you shoot them in the chest, that would spread into 10 meters of that target. So that's really nice. This is an option as well. Now for the gloves, I have here Hana U. This is just a normal item. It has the brand set bonus of 10% skill haste, and like I said earlier, this is a very important stat because we want to spam that jammer pulse over and over again. The core attribute for this piece of gear is +1 skill tier. No need to reroll that, just worry about getting status effect and skill haste. And for the knee pads, I'm using the second piece of Brazos de Arcabas. This will activate the second brand set bonus of +1 skill tier. The core attribute for this gear is armor, so no need to reroll that. However, if you want more weapon damage, just reroll this too. Weapon damage, the attributes that you want is status effects and skill haste. Now for the skills, I am using the Bulwark Ballistic Shield. This is the version of the shield where you can't really use your primary and secondary weapons. So we're stuck with using our handgun, which is perfect because this build is around TDI card custom. It has the highest shield health, which is at skill tier 6. It is 13 million. And for the mods for this skill, you want to use holster regeneration, shield health, and another shield health. And for the second skill for the build, I'm using the Jammer Pulse. Alright, so the mods that I have here is 10% Rages, and the other one is Skill Haste. Now for the specialization, I'm using Technician just for this one talent here, which is the Amped talent that gives us +1 skill tier. Now before we go to the shooting range, let's take a quick look at the stats. All my pieces of armor here or gear are all level 0 or rank 0. None of them are leveled up. And right now we have 1.2 million armor and skill tier 6. Now, skill tier 6 if we are wielding the handgun, which is TDI card custom. The moment we swap into our, for example, our primary weapon, the skill tier goes down into skill tier 5, alright? Now let's press M and take a look at the stats. Starting off with the shield, it is skill tier 6 shield, 99 skill haste, 10-second cooldown, 13 million point 5 health, 175 active regeneration, and 200,000 holster regeneration. Now for the jammer pulse, again skill tier 6, 99 skill haste, 14-second cooldown, and the EMP effect duration is 8.6 seconds, and the radius at skill tier 6 is 34, charge time is 2. Okay, so here we are at the shooting range. Let's take a quick look at the stats, starting off with the primary weapon, which is the St. Elmo. And it has the talent Actum Est. Shooting an enemy with this weapon will give you 1 stack. At 100 stacks, the next reload will fill your ammo with shock ammo. I will zoom here at the bottom. That icon there, every time we shoot the enemy, it will increase, alright? And once it's filled up, after we reload the next ammo, I will reload now, and you would see that icon being there, which is 70 on underneath the 71. That means that all the ammo are shock ammo. So if I shoot this enemy will be shocked for quite a while. Okay, so for the second talent, let's talk about the talent that we have for our sidearm, which is Future Perfect. Weapon kills grant you +1 skill tier if it's already skill tier 6. The weapon kill will grant you overcharge instead for 15 seconds. So there's a cooldown of 90 seconds, but let me show you how that looks. Which is, there you go. There's an icon at the bottom, and for that period, you know, that is 15 seconds. The next skill, or the skills that we use around this period, would be overcharge. Okay, so for the next talent, we're going to take a look at the talent that we get from the mask, which is Toxic Delivery. Now, every time you inflict a status effect, the enemy gets a debuff for 10 seconds, and that will, you know, tick for 10 seconds, and they will take damage. That is from Vile, and the other one is from Trauma, the chest piece talent. If we shoot an enemy in the head, that will make the enemy blind, and if we shoot an enemy in the chest, that will make them bleed. So let me show you how that works. Right now, I will shoot this enemy here in the head, and that will see, you can see that there's an icon on the left, that red one, that is Vile, and the 62,000 damage there, almost 63, that is the damage from Vile. And if we shoot the enemy here on the chest, that will make them bleed, and as you can see, underneath the 62, there is a 53,000 damage. That is the bleed damage from the chest piece Trauma. Anyways guys, that is the build. This is just a fun little build that I made around the Sidearm TDI card custom. Originally, I had this idea of using the Gunslinger holster and Gunslinger as the chest piece talent, and I will swap to the TDI card custom. Once it's charged, I will shoot an enemy, kill it, and have the overcharge effect and drop a turret or a drone and let it, you know, take that buff. Unfortunately, once you swap out back into your primary weapon, which is an assault rifle, whatever you are using at that time, the buff or the skill tier doesn't really snapshot. That means that it will go back into skill tier 5. You know, my idea was just not working, so I decided to change it a bit and just instead focus on this other one, because this is another idea that I had, which is using the jammer pulse and Vile and just inflict a large AoE of a status effect and deal damage to a lot of enemies. And so far, it's really fun to use. The most important thing here, I think, is the skill haste, so that we could immediately refresh and like use the jammer pulse over and over again. But yeah, that is my build for this gun. I'm sure there are other builds out there. If you have any suggestions or ideas, leave it down in the comment below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.